Hello and welcome to another Company of Heroes 3 game. My name is Fancy Josh, and today I've got a game for you between Anticafe as our Wehrmacht. His opponent today is going to be Tonimontana.
Pioneers standing by.
So I've been seeing Anticafe a little bit more often at a high level. He's showing up in more of the games that I'm seeing when I'm looking at high-ranked players' profiles. And yeah, I've been really impressed with him. I think he's on the rise, and I think his MMR is a little bit lower than his actual skill level. So I think we're going to continue to be seeing him around. Tonimontana, on the other hand, you guys should know him well from my
Grenadiers
channel.
assembled.
He's a bit of a one-trick pony. He picks a build, and he runs it seemingly for the entire patch. And it's kind of cool to see. I mean, he perfects the build. He understands its matchups, and yeah, I think it's an interesting way to play the game. That said, if you know what your opponent's going to do every game, you can change up your strategy. So, I'll put it out there what I think his build is going to be. I think it's going to be 3 or 4 infantry sections, supported by infantry training and a medical station into 2 Stuarts, which then get rotated off the map in favor of Crusader 3 spam in the late game. It's typically what I see him do. I think that he generally favors the heavy armor battle group, but sometimes he'll go for Australian defense and use the over-repair on his vehicles. But we'll see what he has in mind for this game. German player opening very standard, 2 pioneers for that a little bit of extra capture power into a heavy machine gun. Going to save his cutoff point here. Map, by the way, Pacino stalemate. These 2 crazy cutoff points, very accessible to your opponent. We're going to see lots of fights over those. Got some fuel on the left side of the map these days. That's a new addition in this latest patch. So something more to fight over here. Royal Engineer's going to find these Pioneers from the looks of things. Pioneers, of course, don't win that fight. So Royal Engineer's going to be able to roll into that fuel, no problem. Grenadiers look like they're rotating down to assist with the problem. Another Grenadier just added on here. German player throwing down barbed wire, denying his opponent cover here. This barbed wire in particular, I think, is very important to throw down. Denying this heavy cover to your opponent is a big freaking deal, because that's what they're going to use to hold your cutoff point away from you. German player just holding down the center with that heavy machine gun. As expected, Grenadier is going to find these Royal Engineers. More Grenadiers coming down. Really wants to make sure he controls his fuel here. No surprise there. Infantry section doing okay here. I guess there's 2 infantry sections in the area. Going to keep this heavy machine gun down, and does look like he's going to win that fight, so heavy machine gun going to be driven back here. Nicely done there. Grenadiers on the chase, but not going to be able to do too much while these Royal Engineers bail out of there. And it feels like our German player is going to end up with a bunch of territory on that left side. But on the flip side, his opponent does look like he's going to take some territory on this right side here very shortly. Yeah, so just wanted to thank all the recent subscribers and commenters. I know I say this maybe a little often, and you guys might be getting sick of it, but seriously, your support makes this channel possible. I really like the community that we're bringing together, folks helping each other understand the game better, everybody really being respectful and sharing ideas, and I think it's just so cool. So, thank you very much for all the support. Man, barbed wire everywhere for our German player, just throwing it down everywhere that he can. Going to make it very difficult for his opponent to move into this right side, which I just think is very smart. Heavy machine gun going to make short work of these Royal Engineers, and German player is going to be able to take control of this right side here. Do like that he's kind of ignoring the victory points for the time being, just focusing on capturing resources here. Nothing wrong with that. British players start a little bit of a slow bleed here, controlling one of the victory points, but German's going to turn that around very shortly here. Infantry section continuing to be obnoxious deep into his opponent's lines here. Now, he could go for this cutoff point, but it's not actually serving as a cutoff point right there because the munitions is actually connecting him. So even if he takes that point, it's not going to be the end of the world. And they are going to capture that point. More Grenadiers, Jaegers now added on for a German player. And a scout car close behind. We are seeing an armored car here, so looks like Tonimontana is going to mix up his build. Typically when he goes for the Humber armored car, he does not then tech into Stuarts behind that. But that said, I think we may see him go for a second Humber armored car here. See if that's what he ends up wanting to do or not. Jaegers are being upgraded with their Panzerschreck there, so going to be able to deal with this Humber armored car. Popping smoke over the hedge there so the Grenadiers can finish the capture. And Scout Car is on the field here. Doesn't want to run into this Humber armored car though. It's not a fight he'll win. Is he going to upgrade him? Probably not. Doesn't have the munitions right now. Jaeger's just continuing to use the smoke, baiting this Humber armored car in close. Are going to finish the upgrade here right as the Humber armored car turns the corner. British player is going to see it. Humber armored car should make it out. There is no infantry for our German there to snare it with a Shrek. So should make it out of there, no problem. British player has locked in the heavy armor battle group here. Let's see what he ends up wanting to do with that. Adding on grenades now. German player moving out of his base here in a big way. So British player still trying to deny this cutoff point, but ultimately doesn't matter. This is he's literally only denying his opponent 8 manpower per minute there by taking that point, and 8 manpower per minute does not matter. German player going for an early Luftwaffe officer quarters here. Typically you don't see players go for this upgrade until they have a number of units from the Luftwaffe company. Currently, he only has the 2, but I think it's an indication of what our German player's plan is this game. Feels like he's going to be on Luftwaffe tech for a while here. I expect we're going to see support elements next with the intention of going for a bunch of medium vehicles, particularly the Black Panzer and Martyr. British player adding on the infantry training there, no surprise, right? It's a huge number of bonuses. Not only does it give you that 800 experience across all your infantry models, but it also gives you 10% harder to hit, 10% accuracy. It's just really, really good. What I really appreciate about it is it's the survivability that it gives you, right? I mean, so you get 10% harder to hit, and then all your units level up to Vet 1, basically, which gives you another 10, I think it's 10%. Alright, now I'm doubting myself here. Yeah, another 10% harder to hit. So, I mean, being 20% harder to hit across all of your infantry is just, it's huge. It makes a big, big difference in survivability. So, happy to see that. Another Jaeger being added on here. Fights taking place all over the place. Jaeger jumping in that house, but the armored car is all over it. Getting out quickly. British player moving in to deal with the anti-tank options so that he can get his Humber armored car back on the field here, especially in service against this scout car. Scout car, recognizing that the Humber armored car has free reign here, is going to run for its life. Here comes a snare from the Grenadiers. Does look like he's going to connect with that unit. Maybe changing his mind there. Grenadiers got to go right now. That's a very bad place to be, and they are going to go down. Trading a Shrek for their lives there. Not worth it, but here comes the Panzerschrecks. If they can get a connection here, that's going to be a big deal. Missing their first shot. Armored car does have engine damage there, so is only going to slowly creep away. But this marked targets thrown down by the Humber armored car are going to make it impossible for the British player, or the German player, to chase in there, so nicely done there. While all that was happening, German player securing territory on this top side with the Royal Engineers, and German player repaying the favor on this left side, picking up some fuel there. Heavy machine gun going to set up on the Royal Engineers, driving back, so going to be reconnected to his fuel very shortly here. Royal Engineers just going to bail on out of there. So nicely done. Here comes the heavy machine gun to support against this infantry section. Is going to suppress them, but I do think the infantry section should be able to finish their capture, especially if they crawl out of vision there, which they are. 2 AT guns on the field for our British player. So this is going to let him transition into his higher techs here, of course. And has gone for the engineer detachments there, so going to get discounts on the upkeep and call-ins from his Royal Engineers. I don't expect to see him call in any additional Royal Engineers, but like I said, going to give him a discount on the upkeep there. So going to be feeling pretty good about that. Humber armor car repaired back up. Jaeger's looking to spring a trap here, hoping to find his opponent overextending with this Humber armor car, which he just might. We've seen him be very aggressive with it so far, but I think his aggression has been tempered, right? He's recognized when he's strong and when he's not. But Jaeger's hopping in this house from the fog of war. Going to be really bad news for this Humber armored car. I do think that's a dead Humber armored car. Heavy machine guns holding it down here. One Shrek, second Shrek got not going to connect there. So Humber armored car continuing to live there. That's kind of annoying for him. But Grenadiers are going to grab this cutoff point, denying his opponent the fuel there. So a nice little push overall. Not going to finish the capture there. So not actually going to deny anything. Third Jaeger on the field here, this time upgraded with the anti-infantry package. So going to do some serious work against these infantry sections at long range, especially in cover. Infantry section waiting for the push here, but that's not going to come. And German just controlling the middle here. Going to grab this cutoff point as well, using his stealth to protect him against the heavy machine gun there. And this is interesting. I'm liking this double heavy machine gun from our British player here. I think that's going to let him control the flow of battle here, especially with his opponent investing heavily into those Jaegers. And, I mean, based on what we're seeing so far, I wouldn't be surprised if we saw yet another Jaeger this game, and potentially even Luftwaffe battle group for the discount on his infantry upkeep. Can't remember what that battle group ability is called. Infantry something. In any case, see what he wants to do here. Does have quite a bit of fuel, though. So, I mean, we're not going to see a terror battle group here. It'd be too early for a King Tiger. It'd be too early for any of the big tanks here. So I'm thinking, maybe we see a Panzer Command here. Maybe we see... I mean, he could still stay on this medium tech, but both players don't seem interested in teching up to their later game tanks. And as I say that, Panzer Company on the way. So we are going to see some medium tanks from the looks of it. Company command post also on the way. And it kind of feels like we might see some weapons training from our British player here. I mean, I guess he doesn't have a second AT gun, but, well, I don't know. What I'm getting at here is that he's not super close to having enough fuel for Crusaders, right? I mean, he's at least, at his current fuel rate, he's at least 2 minutes away, 3 minutes away, right? But I guess if he picks up yet another fuel point, it's going to be closer to that 2-minute mark. So with that in mind, yeah, I take it back. We're just going to see him save up here. Heavy machine gun going to help out against these Jaegers, suppressing the whole squad there. Jaeger's not actually firing there, so no connections made. And scout car going to have to run for its life here. Humber armored car looking like he wants to get aggressive. May eat another Shrek there, but not going to happen. Heavy machine gun moving up as well. And throwing down a mark ability, making sure his opponent can't push into that area. Panzer IV on the way for our German player. And with only one AT gun, our German is going to be able to run the table with that for a little bit here. That high mobility Panzer IV going to be able to move around, outpace the AT gun. But Crusader only 1 minute out here from the looks of things. And I do think we are going to see a Crusader here, as opposed to something like a Matilda. Infantry section looking like they wanted to take that, but seeing the huge number of infantry in the area, bailed out immediately. I think he has had visual confirmation of the Panzer III, or Panzer IV rather. He's definitely heard it in the fog of war there. And now he's for sure seen it. The machine gun trying to hold down this church, but not going to be able to stay there for very long. Second AT gun on the way, which makes a ton of sense because he does have the manpower for it. AT gun going to set up right here in the middle of town from the looks of things. Smoke grenade going to be popped on that heavy machine gun while our German pushes out onto this right side in a big way here. Basically got his whole army over here. There's some anti-infantry Jaegers moving onto that bottom side. And a Churchill. Okay. Alright, Tonimontana, I see how it is. Changing up his build completely. And, I called his build early because literally every game I had seen over the course of like 2 or 3 weeks was the same exact build. And it's kind of cool that he's branched out into something else. So, Churchills, man, you hardly ever see them. Their penetration is not super great against the heavier tanks especially. Should do okay against this Panzer III. It's going to be a little bit of a wet noodle fight, right? Where the Churchill doesn't have enough penetration to consistently get through the armor of the Panzer III. And the same is also true for the Panzer IV, I should say, not Panzer III, the Panzer IV. But we'll see what ends up happening here. And amazingly enough, this scout car is still alive here. I'm a little bit surprised we haven't seen it upgraded into the map hack version of the unit. Royal Engineer is going to be forced back by this Panzer. Pioneers even helping out a little bit. Here come the infantry sections, as well as the Churchill and AT guns. So we're about to see a big old fight here. Hasn't seen the AT guns just yet. Might see them now. And here comes I believe that's the artillery overwatch. Designate targets. Okay, designate targets here. Gonna mark everybody in a huge radius. Churchill gonna roll through this, roll through those hedgerows there. And I really do like the idea of destroying these hedgerows with that Churchill. Open up the area for his AT guns to have some pretty clear sight lines. Infantry section finding those pioneers, going to save that field point. And we got an even game here, folks. I mean, 400, both players in the 300 to 400 range there. So both players have plenty of victory points to work with. Another Panzer IV being added on now. Churchill will need to be careful, needs to go everywhere with his AT guns, which he is. Panzer IV bouncing shells off the Churchill there. Getting some rear armor hits, though. Panzer IV in jeopardy. Jaeger's trying to close the gap, and that's a dead. Panzer IV losing track of that unit for just a little bit there. Churchill going to back away from all these Shreks. Royal Engineers coming in to save the day. And yeah, I mean, the Churchill's going to be really good against this infantry as well. Front armor of the Panzer IV being given here. AT gun's not quite in position, but British player just going to hold his opponent back in his base here, actually denying that field point on the bottom side finally with this cutoff point because he's actually managed to take away enough territory to make that a reality. German players added on some Stoßtruppen here. I think Stoßtruppen's a pretty good choice here. Needs some anti-infantry. Doesn't necessarily need any more anti-tank. Panzer IV finding the side armor of the Churchill there. Jaeger's moving into the middle, not responding to the presence of this Churchill. Pioneer's going to take the brunt of that damage. Oh man, Church going down there right at the last second. Here comes a barrage from our German player there. That's the Firestorm from that breakthrough battle group there. AT guns finding the Panzer IV once again. Panzer IV going to be driven back, but Jaeger's in behind this Churchill. Churchill throwing down smoke. Attack ground going to be used here to hit him in the smoke. Might get one more shot. Missing one. Missing two. Churchill on the retreat. And those Stoßtruppen getting the flank here on those AT guns. Going to force them out of there. Huge amount of smoke saving the day for those AT guns as they retreat. But I do think this is a dead Churchill potentially here as that smoke fades away. Jaeger's continuing to be targeted. But one more attack round, not going to hit. Panzer IV is going to pick up the Churchill there. And a second Churchill on the way for our British players. So both players trading some tanks here. And I do believe we saw a Pioneer go down there. I want to say our German player didn't go up to 2 Grenadiers, but I can't actually remember. Still using the scout car to be obnoxious on this top side. Lovely to see that. And what a little fight there. I mean, if we see more fights like this game's going to go long, and it's going to be a bloodbath. Both players losing some tanks really kind of resets the situation just a little bit here. How much do Churchills cost? That's what I don't know. Take a quick look here.
The enemy has our victory point now.
While we have just a moment of silence. Churchill, 110 fuel, and what was the manpower? 400. So definitely not cheap, but not crazy expensive either.
Commander, enemy forces hold all victory points.
British player going to be in control of all 3 victory points. Excuse me, German going to be in control of all 3 victory points for a short period of time here, but actually, as I say that, German has denied that center point right away. And kind of a little bit of quiet here while both players get repositioned on the map. From the looks of things, repair up their tanks, that sort of thing. Churchill on the hunt. British player unafraid. Be aggressive with this unit.
We have sectors isolated out there.
Which is a little crazy to me, right? If this unit gets exposed in a bad way, it could be really tough for our British player to control the situation. We're seeing a resource cache thrown down. Where's that happening at? Down here in the corner. Love that decision, right? Increase his fuel income. Make it really tough for the German to deny him that fuel. Other than by using the cutoff. We're seeing a Panzer Grenadier company on the way for a German player. So that's an interesting choice at this stage in the game. I'm wondering if it's going to be for indirect fire. I guess it could also be for AT guns. See what he wants to do with it. I mean, he's adding that on with a plan here, so... I mean, AT guns would definitely not be the play. He has access to martyrs. Maybe he doesn't want to spend fuel on martyrs. Huh. I don't know. Interesting choice. Both players being active all over the map. And you know, and I think we're seeing the strength of our German player here as a player. Anticafe is being very active with all his units all across the map, right? We've seen him with that scout car on the wings, being active all game long. And it's working out for him despite the fact his opponent is extremely strong in one area, right? He's going around. He's using his anti-infantry units and he's going around the problem in the middle. And it's lovely to see that. British player did use another designate targets there. Interestingly enough, German player doesn't have any anti-tank right now. Or excuse me, anti-airplane, anti-aircraft. AA, as it were. Might be interesting to see a Flak Panzer. I don't know. I mean, Flak Panzer is, at this stage in the game, going to be tough to keep alive, right? But we've seen how careful our German can be with his units, and maybe there is a world where that works out for him. German player being very cautious here. I mean, the British player has taken away his cutoff points. We're seeing another Churchill on the way. It did end up being an AT gun from our German player out of that Panzer Grenadier company. And Jaeger's just trying to hold down the side, gonna pretty definitively win that fight against the infantry section. Panzer IV getting really aggressive here. Artillery barrage being called down on the... That's a firestorm, I should say, being called down on the AT guns there. AT guns gonna shift positions. Stoss trooping waiting in the wings. Churchill totally fine with the situation. And here comes another marked targets. Armored vehicle training coming in hot here. So gonna upgrade all those Churchills. And scout car finally going down there, getting a little bit aggressive in a bad situation there. But all this infantry doing some serious work here. Absolutely shredding those infantry sections. And might even get a flank on these AT guns. AT guns set up here, both Churchills on the move. Jaeger's in the area. Panzer IV needs to come up, but focused on taking down those AT guns for the moment here. Actually getting some decent penetration with that AT gun. And another hit going to come in. Not going to connect there. Jaeger's staying on the aggressive here, trying to bring down those AT guns. Doesn't look like they're going to get him. Also trying to pick up those infantry section on their way out. Also not going to happen. So nice little collapse there by our German player, picking up some territory. German player making some moves. Both players making moves on the wings of the map while that fight was happening. AT gun recrewed there. Actually getting a shot on the Churchills there. But look at those beefcakes rolling away unfazed in the face of a ton of anti-tank options here. German player getting close to being able to afford his late game tanks. I do think we're gonna see a Tiger here if this game continues on. Does have enough, will have enough fuel here by the time he gets those man points, and ought to have enough manpower as well, assuming he doesn't take heavy losses in the next few minutes here. Both players still very, very equal in terms of victory points. AT guns in position to deal with the Churchills. One bounce, one connection. Not focusing the same unit though. AT gun, or a heavy machine gun in the house, ready for this push though. And Jaeger's continuing to be obnoxious in the wings here. I mean, and this is the disadvantage of our British player's army, right? He is extremely slow moving, right? These Churchills move along at a crawl. AT guns also slow. Infantry sections are weak to those Stosstruppen. They're weak to those Jaegers with anti-infantry packages on them. So as long our German player just needs to continue to use his superior mobility and basically drag his opponent all around the map, make him respond to what's happening. AT guns on the side armor of these Churchills. Churchills might pick up the Panzer IV. Does look like he's going to continue to be aggressive here. We're seeing yet another designate targets called in by our British player. And AT guns are going to drive back the Churchills there. Smoke being popped, going to let them get out safely. Jaegers on the wings. Might see an attack round into the smoke there. No connection going to happen. Churchills repaying the favor with their own attack grounds. Getting one connection. AT guns also finding the Churchill in the smoke there. Jaegers missing that shot. AT guns also missing. Jaegers get one more chance here. I don't think it's going to be enough. Popping more smoke here from the Churchills to keep it alive there. That is awesome. So well played by both players, trying to pick each other's tanks up there, but ultimately going to walk away and lick their wounds here. And what a fun game this has been. What a totally unexpected from Tonimontana. I was sure that this was going to be a Steward into Crusader game, and he just proved me all the way wrong. But here comes the infantry for both players. This fight ought to favor the German, but Stosstruppen being focused down hard by all those Bren guns and anti-infantry packages. Grenadiers going to reinforce the Jaegers there, or excuse me, the Stosstruppen. And going to force his opponent back there. So nicely done by our British player, once again denying his opponent resources. Bet 3 Jaegers going to move into the side here. Heavy machine gun is waiting for them though. And Jaegers are going to be found out there, so either going to have to retreat or send reinforcements. Third Churchill on the way for our British player. So tapping into his unit preservation here, making this build possible. And I say that knowing full well that we saw him lose a Churchill earlier. And a big push into the left side here. British player once again calling designate targets down in this big old area, but German just going to move on out of there. Pick up this left side. British player doesn't seem interested in responding just yet. There is a victory point up for grabs in the middle at just this second. And is our British player pop-capped? Why is this? Yeah, he is pop-capped. Wow. Okay. Are we going to see our British player throw away a tank? Throw away a unit here? Or is he just going to Just gonna duke it out. I wonder, heavy machine gun being focused down on the building there. German player does have enough command points here very shortly for that Tiger, and is saving up for it from the looks of things. AT gun's getting great connections against those Churchills as they move away. Shrek's also in the wings here looking for a shot, not going to find it. Panzer IV pushing forward undissuaded here. British AT gun set up but not facing the right direction there. And here comes the flank. Both players on the wings with their infantry. Looks like the German's going to win that fight. German continuing to be annoying in the wings there, just picking up as much territory as he can. Churchill's moving in though. Looking a little bit scary. Grenade gonna miff. I was trying to say whiff or miss and said miff. And a barrage being called down here. That's a base artillery barrage from those forward artillery observers there. Jaegers taking some shots but not going to connect. AT guns set up once again. Getting some decent connections there. Panzer IV on the side armor once again of these Churchills. Going to drive them back. Vet 2 Panzer already. And German just picking up some more territory on that top side. And man, our British player loves to get aggressive on his opponent's side of the map with his relatively immobile force here. Wow. So that's funny. Okay, I was gonna say our British player just gonna keep that Crusader or keep that Churchill in the queue, and as soon as he loses a unit, the Churchill's gonna be called in. But I actually really like this decision by him. Instead, he's gonna switch out a 17-pounder. He's gonna cancel the Churchill, and he's gonna research 17-pounders, and I expect we're gonna see a 17-pounder called in here. He's rightly recognized that we've approached the stage in the game. Oh man! Infantry section going down to a lucky shot from the Panzer IV there. Unfortunate loss for our British player, but to be honest, he needed a little bit of pop cap here. And actually deciding to go for a third Churchill here. So I don't know if that's going to work out for him, especially with this Tiger on the field. Feels like a 17-pounder could have been better here. Heavy machine gun going to be driven back by all this infantry and Panzer combo. AT guns also in position, ready for the rotation of these Churchills, but Churchills don't care. They're just going to move in, take away some territory here, potentially get a bunch of cutoffs. That said, German player is going to control victory points here for a short period of time. Tiger in the area, ready for this push, going to drive everyone back. And does feel like our German player has control of this game here. Panzer officer quarters on the way here. Going to give him some experience boosts here. AT guns bouncing off the side armor there, and is going to grab up this middle. So German player going to be in control of all three victory points here for the foreseeable future. 17-pounder on the way now. Churchill was canceled in favor of that unit. I think that was a good choice. He definitely needs a better answer for this Tiger, which is now Veterancy 1 thanks to the Panzer officer quarters. So we've reached the stage in the game where neither player cares about fuel. Both players just need to hold the victory points for as long as possible. AT guns getting a double penetration on that front armor there, and followed by 2 bounces there. But here's the 17-pounder on the scene, has been identified by those Jaegers. Oh man, 17-pounder getting a little out of position there. Gonna eat some eat some AT guns. The 17-pounder ultimately in an okay position, so we shouldn't see him go down here, but does not have an angle on this Tiger around the buildings there. Tiger gonna peek its nose out here. Should eat a shot from the Panzer IV. Oh my god. Churchill's going down. AT guns ready for this push. Smoke blocking his own 17-pounder from being able to fire here. Not attacking ground just yet. Churchill moving forward. We're seeing a blitzkrieg called in by our German player, increasing the combat effectiveness. AT guns continuing to peck away at the Tiger there. 17-pounder going to fire finally on this Panzer IV. Churchill in support. Heavy machine gun trying to do everything it can against the 17-pounder. But what a devastating fight for our British player there. I mean, it was a really, really bad position for him, driving that 17-pounder out of position there. Churchill just fighting with the entire world here. AT guns moved up to help out, and all the tanks very, very wounded for both players here. Tiger is being repaired up as quickly as possible here. Stoss trooping in the area. Finally, AT gun gonna find that Panzer on his way out the door. But not a lot of infantry support here in the middle for a British player. Is jumping in this house, but that's not a place he wants to be. And this looks like it's going to be a captured or destroyed 17-pounder. So nicely done there by our German player, taking advantage of his opponent's misclick from the looks of it. German getting really aggressive here, trying to find this wounded Churchill. AT guns pecking away at the Tiger. Tiger might go down here. One more shot. Not a penetration. Oh my god, no penetrations. Firestorm going to destroy the destroy those AT guns there, and the Churchill going down. What a devastating series of events for our British player. Holy cow. I mean, what a ridiculous fight that way. Stoss trooping going down. So getting a little bit in return here is our British player. Pack gun destroying one of the AT guns. Going to focus the other AT gun now. Is going to jump on that AT gun at the last second there to prevent it from being destroyed. Might pick up the Jaegers on their way out. That'd be really good. Not quite going to get him. Heavy machine gun now here to support. And wow. Okay, so where does that leave us? I mean, British player still has a decent amount of fuel. Hurting for manpower, though. Doesn't have any great answers to this Tiger right now. Not going to have... I mean, he's going to have to decide between a Churchill and a 17-pounder. And from the looks of it, I think a 17-pounder might be the better choice at this exact moment in the game. The fact that our British player picked up the Stoss trooping is a really big deal, because those were a huge thorn in his side. 17-pounder is going to be the choice here.
Territory lost.
Pack gun being remounted in the middle here. So all things considered, German player is going to be pretty happy with the state of the game here, I would expect. Now 17-pounder posted up here in the middle can do some serious work, especially if this Tiger decides to get aggressive again. Royal Engineers going to close the gap there. Anti-tank Jaegers meeting these Royal Engineers on the side is going to drive him off this point here, so both players going to walk away with some control of the victory points here. And it's going to be a scrappy fight from here on out, I'd say. 17-pounder on the field, driving in now. Infantry section thinking about pushing into this middle area. Doesn't know what's in a fog of war, though, so reluctant to do so. Royal Engineers going to sacrifice themselves to pick up this point and probably immediately bail out of there. Same thing happening on the top side. So nicely done here by our British player, playing scrappy, picking up the territory he needs. 17-pounders set up here, and actually calling off the vehicle there. Very interesting. So he's not going to be able to reposition that 17-pounder, so indirect fire would be incredibly strong here, but the 17-pounder has a clean shot on the Tiger. Infantry section doesn't manage to finish the capture there. Wouldn't mind seeing this AT gun try to capture, but has literally no support. So another 17-pounder on the way. Okay. Interesting choices here. I mean, I was thinking a Churchill after 17-pounder, but he's clearly terrified of the prospect of this Tiger. But if he keeps calling units off like that, he's not going to be able to reposition his 17-pounders. I mean, something like just one mortar could totally shut these 17-pounders down. Of course, our German player doesn't know that. But with control of 3 victory points here, the bleed is on quick here for our British player. He's going to need to take action immediately. Infantry section moving into the middle to pick up that territory. Heavy machine gun on the wings here. Going to find those Jaegers, suppress them, and should be able to pick up that side if he wants to. Tiger moving in. 17-pounders ready, though. AT gun also getting a shot. 6-pounder, I should say. So Tiger cannot poke its head out here very effectively. Heavy machine gun in the middle. British player has not stopped the bleed yet. Heavy machine gun moving up to that top tide right now. What vehicle was that? Okay, another 17-pounder. Set up here to be able to fire down this street as well as onto this right side, but Really needs... I mean, these 17-pounders are so freaking exposed to infantry. Grenadiers with assault package is going to close the gap with the 17-pounder. Is going to be found out by both the heavy machine gun and this infantry. Grenades being tossed on the 17-pounder, not going to take him down there. And once again, the British truck being called off the map there. I wish I knew what it was called. You'd think I'd know, but I don't. Royal Engineers being found out in the middle here, taking a huge shot from that Tiger, not going to finish the capture. 17-pounder ready. Is going to get one shot. Sturm Tiger on the way here. 17-pounder refacing, going to get some good connections there. Tiger immediately forced back there. And I do really like this Sturm Panzer, but with these 17-pounders, their British player already has the answer that he needs. Both players trying to secure this middle, but unable to. Look at that. That barrage being fired a million miles in the air there. Heavy machine guns being forced away. Jaegers coming in with their smoke grenades. And that looks like a... Oh, God. What is it? Is it a Matilda? Crusader? It is a Crusader. God. One day, man. I don't know why I doubt myself so much on that. Like, I thought to myself, surely that's a Crusader, and then I talked myself into something else. Oh man, Jaeger, that was the anti-infantry Jaeger going down to this house, being blown up by a bunch of AT grenades, AT guns all firing at the house at the same time. Jaeger's being forced back here, heavy machine gun still holding down the area. Heavy machine gun on this top side, going to find these Jaegers potentially here. Assault Grenadiers being fired on, and nice little suppression there, so British player going to continue to hold that top side. The bleed is now on for our German here. Heavy machine gun discovered by our British player on the top side. Wouldn't mind seeing that Crusader roll up there, but doesn't want to abandon his very forward 17-pounder here. And what a game. This game has really gone the distance. I thought it was over a couple different times, but our British player has proved me wrong. Both players have proved me wrong. I mean, it's been a bloodbath the whole way, and the fact that these 17-pounders were able to save the day like they've been able to is just simply incredible. Now, he can hear his opponent's vehicles in the fog of war, so preemptively repositioning that 17-pounder, even in setting it up to fire more quickly there. Heavy machine guns all over the place, covering a variety of angles. Tiger's going to force back this heavy machine gun, but it's going to eat some 17-pounder shots for his trouble there. Sturm Panzer dealing with some Royal Engineers in the middle. Heavy machine gun's going to save the day once again against this against these Jaegers here. Here comes a firestorm once again, going to totally wreck that 17-pounder. Pioneers going down in the middle there to the to those Bren guns, and 17-pounder is destroyed, as well as the heavy machine gun. Crusaders are ready for the Sturm Panzer, though. Should be able to get in behind him. 6-pounder even helping out, but getting in behind here with that marked targets, that is a dead Sturm Panzer. And wow, German player going to throw in the towel there at the last minute. Losing that Sturm Panzer was more than he could handle. Wow, what a game. What a freaking bloodbath. I'm not even sure what to say. Taking a look at the ELO here. British player, rank 17 there. His opponent, rank 55. And, wow. Hope you guys enjoyed this game as much as I did, and I will see you in the next one.